Good morning. This is the Blain's World podcast. They can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as well as this website, www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both West North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Lelia, Duncan, President and CEO at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Western North Carolina. And Lelia, you can wave to all your friends who might be watching this. So that's Lelia. And I should mention that Lelia, Duncan, is an outgoing, dynamic leader in the nonprofit world for over 25 years. This is kind of cool. You started, at age 7?
At maybe 5.
Okay, the youngest. I was impressed when I read that. She graduated from the University of Southern Mississippi and studied at the London School of Economics. Lelia has been published in regional and national news media, and most recently, she was selected to be a member of the inaugural Big Brothers Big Sisters leadership class, and I'll have to tell me about that in just a second. But the first question I ask Lelia, I always, when I meet somebody for the first time, I'm kind of curious about, when they were growing up as a little child. Did you always know you wanted to be in the nonprofit world?
No, I wanted to be president of the United States.
Well, you still have time,
No, I think I realized along the way I could help a lot more people in nonprofit than out. We were always raised from little children. My grandfather was a preacher and a publisher of the local newspaper to give back. So whether it was raking somebody's yard as a child, or it was helping somebody in their home, or it was working in various nonprofits, that was just part of the fabric of our lives. And so it seemed very natural to me that I would be drawn to being a part. Actually, I was working in the commercial side of the world, in the corporate side. And as I was serving on boards and volunteering, and at some point I realized my heart was really in making those organizations the best I could and taking that business expertise and bringing it into the nonprofit sector.
You'll get a kick out of this one quote, which you may be familiar with, but it's word for word what you were talking about from a woman by the name of Shirley Chisholm, and you may know the name.
Very much so.
But talking about what you just said, her goal was to be the first woman to be president of the United States, and she was also the first African-American woman to be president of the United States. And she said the following, which is what you kind of indicated: service is the rent we pay for living on earth.
So good.
Isn't that a great quote?
Yeah.
But it's just, it seems that's what your life is all about in terms of giving back. What was your first nonprofit experience?
As an adult or a child?
Both.
I mean,
As
literally
child.
have always been involved in it. I think the one that I would say 2 really made a mark on my heart. I was actually a big myself in Northeast Florida. And so that was a fantastic experience. It exposed me to the organization. And then when I took the reins of Community Connections in Jacksonville, Florida, we served over 1,800 adults a day and 1,200 kids. And all these folks were entering into maybe not in the best straits in their life. It was pretty much dealing in chaos and finding a way, a path to peace, calmness, fruitfulness. And that really changed the way I saw the world.
What got you from Florida to Asheville?
I had traveled to North Carolina to visit my aunt many times. I love to hike. The waterfalls. I actually live in Brevard. So, the waterfalls, the land of Transylvania, the land of waterfalls. And I just fell in love with the area. I love the seasons. And as much as I enjoyed my time in Florida, I was there for 17 years. There came a time when I wanted to be out of that heat. And so North Carolina was my next step.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I don't know, we should tell other people on the air, but for the same reason we moved to, the Asheville area. Because to me, it's like the perfect weather-wise. It's just, it's just like, I used to not want to tell people about Asheville, ruin the Asheville. Other people, when we moved here, nobody had heard of it, kind of thing. Asheville's claim to fame, I don't know if you know this, but at one time it was the most misspelled city in the nation, because
No, I've never heard that.
nobody put the E in it, but same thing too with the weather. And then, so we first moved here, Asheville was like about 40,000. Now it's like 80,000, but the perfect weather. So you don't miss the Florida heat and the hurricanes
I don't miss the hurricanes. And they've gotten a lot worse since I moved up here, but I think North Carolina, especially Western North Carolina, is absolutely one of the most beautiful places you'd ever want to be. So I love being here, and I love the people.
When you came to Western North Carolina, was it to come to Big Brothers Big Sisters?
No, it was just to move up here. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, had a lot of different things to consider, and the Big Brothers Big Sisters opportunity kind of just fell at the right time, and I knew it instantly. And it's been a great marriage. I started with Big Brothers as the world was closing down. So I think the world started closing down around March the 24th or 25th. I was hired, and Robin and I, who was my predecessor, Robin Myers, you and I were speaking of him earlier, great guy.
Only good things too, you were saying.
Oh yeah, he was only good things. He was in the role for 27 years before I came on board. So we worked together for about 2 weeks, and then May 1, I stepped into the role. And so for a long time, I didn't even get to meet all the staff, let alone the volunteers. So it was a very different way to enter a job, but in some ways I'm grateful for it because I really got to dig into the organizational side of it before I was working with the public.
And talking about a perfect job, given your background, I mean, you almost couldn't write a better job description for somebody like you, to take it. Plus, on top of that, we mentioned that you had experience, right, as a big sister at one time?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Blaine, it was like the planets aligned. I really wanted to get out of, I'd worked a lot with homeless and victims of domestic violence and Head Start centers. And I really wanted something that I could sink my teeth in that I knew absolutely was making a difference in people's lives. And it was an area that had so much room to expand. So it was just perfect.
And for the folks who don't know what Big Brothers Big Sisters is, it's one of these kinds of things everybody's sort of heard of, but a lot of people don't know what it is. So I'll put you on the spot and ask you in the next 3.5 hours if you could give the background of Big Brothers Big Sisters. But seriously, what is the organization?
It is mentoring. It is one-on-one, making a dramatic difference in children and youth's lives. We came out of the social justice system. There was a clerk, and he watched kids going in and out of the system. And that was in 1904, mind you. So we've been around a long time. And from there, we've grown. And our focus literally is on having intentional relationships. We work with children that are ages 6 to 16. We have several different kinds of programs. One is community-based. One is site-based, and one is high school bigs. So the way these programs work together is if you, Blaine, decided, hey, I think I want to make a difference in somebody's life. Well, I would say, well, if you're community-based, you're going to spend 2 hours, 2 times a month, total of maybe 4 hours. And those 2 hours a week, those 2 hours a month, maybe one time you're hiking. Maybe one time you're going to the grocery store. Maybe one time you're taking them to a play or you're going fishing. It is providing our littles with experiences they might not otherwise have. And site-based, it's where the adult, who we call the big, goes into a school or an after-school program. They work directly with the child for 1 hour per week. Half of that time is emotional and social support. So it's like, tell me about your friends. How are you feeling? What's going on in your world? Which we all know is so critical right now. And the other part is academic support. So maybe helping them out with their homework, maybe doing some extra work the teacher has sent. So those are the 2 ways adults can get involved. And then we have a program, High School Bigs, where juniors and seniors mentor our elementary school students. So think back when you were in elementary, was there anything more cool than a senior or a junior? No, they're going to listen to them so much more. And so we paired those 2 together. So a high school big gets to learn leadership. They're building up those community hours they need for their college resumes. And they're learning about giving back, which we want to model all day long. And our littles get the benefit of having that big brother, big sister within their school system. And so it's really pretty cool. So that's our program in a nutshell.
Now, the organization, though, has changed right over the years in that when I first heard about it many years ago, was it only, I think it was Big Brothers I was familiar with. How long have Big Sisters been part of the organization?
Over 30 years.
Okay. So
there was a big sister kind of organization and a big brother kind of organization. And some brilliant person said, let's bring them together. And so now it's Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
But it's when you said it 30 years again, it's like, I said, well, that's
or maybe more.
No, but I'm saying, but that sounds like a long time ago, but it wasn't. To me, it sounds like yesterday. I first heard about Big Brothers. And I kind of wondered, it's like the same time, it's funny you mentioned that other organizations open up to women. Can you imagine? It's like Rotary, Kiwanis, it used to be, it was only for guys. And they said that the women want to be mentors and participate in the program. What does it take to become a volunteer?
You got to love children. Bottom line, if you don't like kids, we're not your organization. So you have to have a desire to improve kids' lives. You don't have to be, I think sometimes people think, oh, I have to be this great person.
Right.
I have to be the president. I have to. No, we just want people that are willing to spend time with children. And so let's talk a little bit about where our kids come from, because I want to clean up any misconceptions. Our kids come to us, they're referred by school counselors. Sometimes they are referred by the clergy. They might be self-referred. A lot of our folks are self-referred, sometimes from the juvenile justice system. And it's kids that just might need some extra attention. A lot of our kids, 86%, come from single parent homes or single guardians. We have a lot of grandparents that are bringing up their children. And so some of our kids are on the free lunch program, the majority, but not all. So we're there. Sometimes we might have a single mom that has 3 kids and she's working a job and she just needs a little bit of extra help. And that's what we are. We're those extra hands that really help a kid maybe get to the next level.
How often are the kids members of, they have no brothers or sisters? Is that common?
No, usually our kids have siblings. It's rare for us to have a single child. My little sister currently is a single. She doesn't have any siblings, but it really depends. And a lot of times we have mixed families, especially in today's world. And we're just open. I will say Big Brothers, Big Sisters is not about parties. We're partisan. We are not about who's vaxxed and who's unvaxxed. We're not about if you're conservative or liberal, if you're urban or rural. We are there to serve the children of Western North Carolina. And we serve all 18 counties and the Qualla boundary as well.
Do you have any big, and I have to get used to terminology, bigs. Is that terminology to use?
That is it.
Do any bigs take on more than one child at a time? Do you ever have a brother and sister, or 2 brothers together?
We don't encourage that because we want each child to have that special time with an adult. It has happened that we'll have an adult take on more than one child, but they're usually not siblings. Occasionally in special situations, but we want to make sure that child has somebody that is just listening to them.
Do you have any parents who take on more than one child at different times? They'll have 2 bigs, like in your case, I'm impressed you have a little yourself. Is that correct? Do any take on more than one?
Not many. We do have some that do, again, but that's rare. When you get involved in a child, it's so interesting because the first couple of months, I think you're very strict about, okay, 2 hours, I'm going to do it every other Saturday. And then the next thing you know, you're texting and then you're often with them. And sometimes we say to the bigs, okay, that's a lot of time together. And that's, I think, one of the best things about our program. We have our staff, we have program coordinators, and their job is to, number one, safety is our number one focus. So each month they're going to talk to the parent and the child and the big, that's if they're community based, to see how it's going. sometimes it's a little icky at first. You're not quite sure what to do with your little, how do I make this connection? So they're there to coach. They're also there to make sure there are not any warning signs, anything's going on. They're there to see if the family perhaps needs some extra resources, because that's one of our jobs, is connect our folks with all the other great nonprofits in the area. And we work really hard to be a mutually beneficial collaborator, because that's important. There's enough water for all of the boats to float.
Talk about if you're a big brother, big sister, and you volunteer. And by the way, let's go through the process. So somebody's listening to the show. And by the way, we should, of course, mention contact information. If folks want to get more information, best bet is to do what?
Go to our website, which is BBBS. So it stands for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, BBBS, WNC, stands for Western North Carolina. At BBBS, it's at org. I'm sorry, BBBS, WNC. .org. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, exactly. But so somebody would go there to the website and they would find out all the information about what they need to do next.
Yeah, you can go right in. You'll see what about, and then you'll see volunteer, and you click on volunteer, and you can actually fill out the application online. You'll also see the phone number you can call and get somebody live on the phone if you'd like to talk first. Once you fill out the application, somebody will call you from Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they'll set up an interview. Our interviews are quite extensive because we want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, and we learn all about you and what kind of little you're looking for, where you feel like your strengths are. So we go through a real intensive interview process. We also are going to run a lot of background checks. We're going to look at your driving record to make sure it's okay for a little to be in the car. We're going to look at the sexual registry. We're going to look at a local background check and a state background check. And we're going to make sure that we can give you the good house seal of approval. So once we've done that, then we're doing the same thing with our littles. They go through an interview process. We meet with the littles. We talk about what kind of big are you looking for? And we're thinking, does Blaine fit that? Would Blaine like that? Would this work? And then we interview their parents. And that is so important. Because Blaine, if the parents don't really feel like we've heard them, the match isn't going to last. And the longer a match lasts, the better off it is. So we want to know, what does that mom or dad want for their child? Are they looking for a person of color? Are they looking for somebody younger or older? Do they want their child to be outside? Do they want their child to do more crafts? Kind of like, what's their feel of how this relationship is going to work? And so then we get together, and it's like a big matching thing, and we decide who we think is best. We present each candidate to the other side, and we ultimately let the parents kind of drive that decision.
And I have to give a compliment to your organization, because as you're describing it, I remember when my wife went through the process, I think I told you that she had been big, that she was really impressed that she wasn't just thrown into it, that, like you said, every step of the way, there was somebody there to help her. And at times she had questions. At times she needed help, or what's the best way to approach this, or how to handle the situation. And like you said, there's somebody there all the time kind of watching your back to help you. So that was great. And you're still doing it.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I know with my little, I reach out to my program coordinator on staff and say, Jamie Davis has been with us for 25 years. She is our executive vice president and oversees all the programming. I'll say, Jamie, she doesn't want to do anything I'm suggesting. I don't know what to do. And Jamie will say, well, what about this? And what about that? And it works.
Well, let me ask you the next question. And again, it points to something your organization does really well. But in terms of what activities does a typical big sister or big brother, what activities do they do with their littles?
Well, hopefully we've done a good job, and we know what you like to do. So we've paired you with a little that might share some of those same interests. So if you love to fish, hopefully we found a child that might like to enjoy fishing. Typically though, you're going to do really normal things, because Blaine, the best conversations happen naturally and casually. So maybe you're going to take them to the library and get a library card. Maybe you're going to take them to a play because they've never seen a live performance. So you're going to take them to the play, and then you're going to talk about how they felt about it. You might want to go to a sporting event with them. We have a lot of enrichment activities. And what that means is we might offer a golf clinic, or we might be, we work a lot on life skills. We have a program called Success 360 because we want our littles not only to graduate high school, but to thrive. And so we try to look at things they might not have learned. Car maintenance being right at the top of the list. Like, how do you read a dashboard? I didn't know forever that the side that tells you if you're out of gas is on your dashboard. I mean, I just didn't know that.
Right.
But if you don't have a dad in the household, or you don't have a mom that's because there are a lot of women that are great auto mechanics, it's a way that kids can learn, first of all, how to take care of something, but then how much does a car mechanic make? What kind of background do they have? Because not all kids are going to go to a four-year college. So we're really interested about funneling those kids into careers that they can make a great living at, and that they can really have a wonderful life. So that's a big focus for us.
And to help children have a wonderful life, if you can give a shout out to some other folks you work with, because I remember this was way back when, but I remember my wife, and so was I, was so impressed with the organizations that were offering invitations to the littles and to the bigs. And just as you said it, it was really exciting that it was, trying to think, all the theaters, local theaters, make tickets available to kids, which is a really exciting thing, who had never seen.
Well, my great friend, Bob White, who moved up from Jacksonville,
I know
Florida,
Bob very well.
is now, you know Bob?
Sure, he was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I see everything at ACT, but talk a little bit about Bob White.
Well, I
What
was
a
just
great
going to
guy.
say, and he offered, tickets to us. And we appreciated being able to go to Asheville Theater and take advantage of that. We love it. We have, again, because we do all 18 counties, but since we're primarily talking about Buncombe tonight, however, like going to Hendersonville, to the aquarium, or to Jeter Mountain, right outside of Hendersonville, we have programs where they can take advantage of different things. And we work closely with all of the community colleges, as well as the vocational schools. And we let and I could sit here and name those forever, but AB Tech comes at the top of that list, along with Haywood Community College. They really help us, help our children assess what their aptitudes are, tell us about what kind of classes they have or camps they have in the summer, so our littles can learn about. We have a lot of first generation students, meaning they're the first person in their family to go to college, and that's tough to navigate. If you've never done it, let your child navigate. So we work with the bigs as well as their parents on how to get them in school and make those connections.
One of the things you also do, again, it sounds like all I'm doing is complimenting you folks, but I want to, because I'm so impressed with the work you do. The other thing I was always impressed with, you have the bigs work one-on-one with their littles, but also, which is very exciting, you typically have a couple times a year, right, where you get them all together, or their community type events. There were picnics or other things, and talk about those kinds of things.
Well, I will, but I want to back up, because
Sure.
in Asheville, we're lucky enough to have kind of a pioneer program. We have group mentoring as well. And this is primarily in our Asheville City schools, where we have groups of middle school girls. In fact, there was just a great article about them. Allie Sloss, who works on our staff, leads that, and she has 70 littles that are that tough age, that 9 to 14-year-old, where there's a lot of social media pressure. There's just a lot of angst and stress. And she takes the girls and they work on all sorts of empowerment, building self-confidence, resilience, mental health, wellness. And it's just really remarkable what she's been able to do in those group mentoring classes. So I don't want to not mention those. But as far as the events, we do everything from taking the kids tubing to hiking. We love to hike all the epic peaks in Western North Carolina. We like to go snow tubing. In fact, we just came from snow tubing, Black Bear in Hendersonville. And we get the kids together so they get to know one another. They can share experiences as littles, and more importantly, our bigs get to know each other. So they can say, hey, what do you do when? And they talk about it, and that's pretty awesome.
What's exciting about it, or it sounds to me, so you're not isolated. The little is not isolated, or the bigs as well. It almost sounds like a community type thing.
It does. That's our hope.
Well, let me ask you this: in terms of success stories, have you had any, not necessarily in your tenure, but from previous 10 years as well? Do any of the people who were big brothers or big sisters, do they ever come back to become a bigs themselves?
Man, do I have the success story of all times?
Please.
I'm sure he'll hear this. Our vice president of philanthropy, his name is Dorian Palmer.
Okay.
And Dorian was a little in our program. I think he became a little when he was 9. He's probably going to correct me. Maybe it was 10. But Dorian, his mom was a single mom. His dad was incarcerated at the time. And Dorian says that his big Nathan really changed his life. And in fact, he ended up being in Nathan's wedding, and they still speak
I
like periodically.
I'm getting a chill when you tell the story.
So wait, it gets better. Dorian went from being a little in the organization to he became the chair of an advisory council. So in all the different counties, we have advisory councils. And then he went from that to sitting on the regional board of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And when Robin Myers, who we spoke about earlier, was the had my role, Dorian was the board chair. And Dorian was the board chair at the ripe age of 24 years old. He was the youngest chair they'd ever had. So when I went through the interview process, Dorian was the chair. So he became my boss. Very quickly, I realized what an amazing story he had. He was walking the walk, talking the talk. So we brought him on this side of the organization. And so now we work together as a team. And I'm going to tell you, when he walks in and tells his story, and those little boys of color look up to a man of color that has gone through this, is successful, is a foster parent, it literally will take your breath away. And I'm so proud to have him be a part of our team.
But even as you're telling me, I'm getting a chill just listening to the story.
Oh, good.
It's just a great story. So you said he now is a member of the staff? Is that
Yes.
It? Okay. So, but the bad thing about it, from your standpoint, did he have to step down as board chair, or is he still board chair?
He did. So he's not the boss of me.
Right.
But now we're on a team together, and I'm kind of the boss of him.
Okay, but that's a great story. And talk a little bit also, since you kind of alluded to it, that you have these people helping in the organization, you have staffers, but you also have a board then. And talk a little bit about the role of the board in your organization, who heads it this year, and what do they do to help out?
Blaine, I'm so glad you asked, because I think a lot of people don't realize the hard work those guys do. And it's a lot of time, I'm here to tell you. So Debbie Charlton is our board chair. She's going on her 2nd year. She is amazing. With all of our board, again, they have an application they fill out. They go through an interview process where they meet with us, because we want them to know what our expectations are, and we want to know if it's a good fit. We have a fantastic treasurer. His name is Josh Mellon. As you know, it's never easy to be a board treasurer. I mean, they're the ones
Right.
that are watching the money and, trying to help you make really good business decisions. Alan Helms is the second. I'm going through the executive team. He's over at Home Trust. Heather Brown is amazing. She was part of the Matt and Molly team forever. And she has just stepped back. It's going to be interesting to see what Heather does next. I have a feeling she's going to land up in some nonprofit position, or starting her own nonprofit, but still involved with us. Joey Pop was North Carolina's Big Brother of the Year. So we were really excited about that. And Joey has an extensive background in media. He still works for NBC sometimes. Folks may remember Joey. He lives over in Hendersonville. So that's our core. But we have folks like Mark Curtis, who's been around for a while, an attorney here. But really, a lot of our board is made up from folks from other counties because we want to have a full, taste of Western North Carolina when we're making tough decisions. So we have like the mayor in Murphy, Tim Radford, and the mayor in Fletcher, Preston Blakely. Bruce Waller in Asheville has been phenomenal with Black Wall Street and really helping us develop more trusting relationships in the communities of color so that we're serving more children. Right now, Blaine, we have over 200 children on our waiting list.
Wow.
And of that 200, a lot of them are boys of color. So part of our strategic plan, our strategic focus is to recruit more men and women of color to help mentor these kids. So if you're out there and you're listening and you can connect us or you want to be a part, please come on in. We'd love to have you.
One of the things that you do personally, and I'll ask you about your other board members, is that it's really cool that you're not only head of the organization, but you're also a big. Very, very cool in a way. Do any of your other board members or any members also bigs?
Most.
Wow, is that cool?
And that's how they tend to get involved, Lane. I'm thinking of Josh and Alan and Joey right off the bat. Those three jump out. Mark just became a big. I think that you see the difference you make. We know our kids are less likely to have brushes with juvenile justice system. We know they're less likely to engage in risky behavior. And by that, we mean substance abuse. We mean any kind of sexual promiscuity, any kind of risky behavior. We know our kids have a better attitude about going to school. They make better grades. I mean, and the list goes on and on. And it's so amazing that that really has a lot to do with having that one-on-one in the moment person you can reach out to. So I do think when our board members see what a difference they've made, they are committed and they want to make sure the organization's around. And I'm grateful that we have all of them.
Do you track your littles after they graduate?
We don't, because we don't have the manpower to do so right now. A lot of our matches stay in touch even after their kids go, after their littles go to college. So we know about those guys. But once a match might end, and typically our match is in for a couple of reasons. Either the big or the little move out of the service area, so they disconnect. Or after high school, they kind of decide the match is over, and so they move on. And those are really the two main reasons. Occasionally, it might be that it's just maybe a parent doesn't have the time to make sure that the littles are doing whatever. But for the most part, those are the two reasons. But I'd love to have that. We just don't have it currently.
Well, and by the way, if anybody's listening, we'll talk about that as well. You want a volunteer opportunity, come see you and you'll put them to work.
Yeah. And listen, being a big is not the only volunteer opportunity. As we just discussed, you can serve on a board, or you can even volunteer for an event. Right now, we're in the middle of our big fundraiser. It's Bowl for Kids' Sake. This year, our theme is Once Upon a Time. So you come dressed as your favorite character and you come and bowl. And so we need people helping out with that, and we need people to participate. So if you don't have the time to be a big, come bowl with us, help us make some money so that we can keep this program going.
And talk about when and where that'll be.
Okay, so I'm going to just double check. It's the second Saturday in March, and I am so bad about throwing wrong numbers. I want to make sure I got it right.
Or it'll be also the website too.
It is on the website. It's March the 11th. And by all means, you can always go to our Facebook, which is, again, BBBS, which stands for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Western North Carolina. And if you go there, you'll see lots of pictures. And actually on our website, again, you can go and you can register for a team. So really, basically the way it works, Blaine, let's say you decide this is right in your alley.
Right.
So you're going to find 4 people and you're going to say, we're going to bowl. So to have a bowling team, it's $250. So you come out, you dress in your costume, y'all bowl, all the money's going to go right back to the agency so we can run the organization. I'm really proud to say less than 15% of our total income is operational. Everything goes to programs.
And where's that going to be? Or is it different alleys or just one?
Oh, it's going to be at Skylanes.
So, okay, so we'll give a shout out to them, for making that available.
Absolutely. They're wonderful to work with. They have been hosting us for decades, probably at this time. This is a fun thing. A lot of people in Asheville come out. We usually have 60 to 70 teams. So it's exciting. And then the following Saturday, which would be 11 plus 7 is the 18th, we have the county of Haywood comes in and they bowl at Skylanes. So if you missed one, you can always hit the other one.
And talk about one other thing that kind of impressed me that you're involved in is, and I mentioned in the introduction, but there's also now a Big Brothers Big Sisters leadership class. And what's that all about?
Oh, I will tell you. So our national organization is Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. And now a year and a half ago, they had an inaugural leadership class where they chose 22 from 264 agencies. And I was lucky enough and honored enough to be one of those to come through. And we're really doing a lot of work. My role is a high turnover role across the country. I mean, it's always a lot of pressure when you're running an organization, especially it's a nonprofit. You got to raise money, you got to deliver, all those kind of good things. And so I was fortunate enough to be in that inaugural group. And now I serve as a mentor to one of those coming in through behind me. So it's been an excellent opportunity for us. And I would be so remiss if I didn't tell you last June, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Western North Carolina won Agency of the Year in our category. So there are 4 categories. So only 4 agencies were picked out of 267 other ones. So we're the first one out of North Carolina to ever have this award. And we are over the moon about it.
Okay, well, it should be. In terms of, again, folks want to get more information about the bowling event or serving as volunteer. And again, you made a good point. You don't have to necessarily be a big brother, big sister.
Right.
You can help out other ways. You're always looking for volunteers. The best bet is go to the website again if you give the information.
Right. It's BBBS, Big Brothers Big Sisters, WNC.org.
And final question, where do you see the organization going from where you are now? What's in your future?
I think the biggest thing for us last year, Blaine, we doubled in size. We went from serving 10 counties to 18 counties. And we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Eastern Band of the Cherokees in December of last year, of 2021. So we've been there a year. I think our goal and focus is to continue to grow in each and every county. And I really do want to give a shout out to a couple of organizations
Please.
right now. Dogwood Health Trust was absolutely critical in providing the funding that allowed us to reach into those counties. Community Foundations of Western North Carolina has been wonderful in supporting a lot of our different initiatives if we've gone, forward. WNC Pathways, Bridges. We have just been really fortunate. North Carolina is a giving state. Western North Carolina is a very giving area. Nantahala Health Foundation, another. We're just so lucky. And I almost hate when you start calling names because I'm afraid I'm going to forget somebody. But I do want to say I am grateful for all of that. So in the future, what I see is that we continue to serve more and more children, that we bring the dramatic, really fantastic program we're bringing in, like Natural High, which is a different approach on how to help kids avoid substance abuse. It's all current athletes, dancers, musicians, artists, writers. It's done, it's all about why they chose to be naturally high and not have a synthetic high. And I love that. So between that, our Club Success, where we're, Success 360, where we're helping our kids gain those life skills, financial literacy. Again, Truist Bank underwrote that, and we're grateful for them. That's what I see as we continue to bring in innovative programs that helps a child in the moment, especially mental wellness. That's our big focus right now. We want our kids to have resilience, to be self-confident, to be positive, and not depressed, and not in sad places. We want them to be great.
And one thing I don't see, Lilia, but I'm not going to embarrass you here, but as you're talking, I don't see your roller skates, in terms of getting around, 18 counties. And, I can't believe this.
Jetpack. I just go, shh.
Wow.
But everybody on staff is like that.
Okay.
I mean, literally across the board, everybody is moving and shaking all the time.
Well, wherever you're doing a great job. I want to thank you for, doing all the good stuff you do for West North Carolina. My guest has been Lelia Duncan with Big Brothers Big Sisters of West North Carolina. I'd also like to thank Cappy Tuzzetti, my producer. Look forward to having you join me each week where you can find us, and we'll see you then. Lelia, thanks.
Thank you.